I am Awaken mindset present on the issue, You Are Not Your Past. Ethan's story will wake you up. We are not what happened to us. We are what we choose to become. At 16, a boy named Ethan once believed his life had no meaning. His family fell apart when he was just 10. His father left after a violent argument, abandoning Ethan, his younger brother, and their mother in a shabby rental apartment on the outskirts of Chicago. His mother, a nurse working night shifts, often came home at dawn, exhausted, cold, and unable to hide her weariness toward life. Ethan grew up surrounded by the sounds of slammed doors, deep sighs, and sometimes quiet sobs through the walls. At school, Ethan was invisible. He wasn't a troublemaker, nor a top student. He was just faded. He rarely spoke, sat in the back corner of the class, and avoided eye contact with teachers. Other kids made fun of his torn shoes, his faded hoodie, worn day after day, and the peanut butter sandwiches he brought every week because his family was too poor to eat anything else. Ethan began to believe that his life was already decided, that I am a product of my circumstances, as he once wrote in a notebook. The tragedy of self-identification with the past. Ethan's story isn't uncommon in today's America. In a society marked by widening economic gaps, rising divorce rates, and declining mental health, millions of teenagers are wrestling with the belief that they are defined by what has happened to them. Young people, at the most fragile phase of identity development, are highly susceptible to negative events. A traumatic childhood, academic failure, family conflict, or simply feeling abandoned can leave deep psychological scars. Without someone there to guide, support, or simply remind them that there is another way, these wounds can gradually become their sense of identity. Ethan used to believe, I have no worth. If I did, my father wouldn't have left me. What he didn't realize was that he was equating himself with his pain, instead of recognizing that it was just a part of him, not all of him. A life-changing encounter. Things began to change in his junior year, when Ethan was required to attend a mandatory counseling session at school. It was part of a support program for students at risk of dropping out, run by a counselor named Mrs. Reynolds. At first, Ethan resisted. He walked into the counseling room cold and distant, answered in short sentences, and kept his eyes on the floor. But Mrs. Reynolds didn't rush. She didn't try to fix him, she just listened. Each session, she shared a story with someone who had fallen, felt hopeless, but had chosen to rise and rebuild. One day, she handed Ethan a piece of paper with a quote written on it. We are not what happened to us, we are what we choose to become. Carl Jung. She didn't explain. She simply said, take it home. Reflect on it like it's a message written just for the real you, not the version of you that life tried to force into existence. The defining question, can I choose? That night, Ethan stared at the quote. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like he was reading a hollow phrase. It felt like someone had reached out and taken his hand in the dark. Ethan began to wonder, if I'm not just the result of everything bad that happened, then who am I? That question, seemingly simple, is often the first step in breaking the negative mental cycles in young people. Because when someone realizes they have the power to choose, they begin to believe they have control. So Ethan started trying small things. He visited the library after school. He took notes in class, just to see if he could. He began writing down his thoughts, and each week, he brought them to Mrs. Reynolds. The compound effect and redefining the self-change didn't happen overnight. Ethan still had days when he felt empty. He still argued with his mother. He still doubted his worth. But the difference was, He no longer believed he had to stay that way forever. That was the most powerful shift. Because when you change the way you see yourself, the world begins to change with you. In his senior year, Ethan applied to a community college to study information technology, something he wouldn't have even dared to dream a year before. He got in. He worked part-time, studied part-time, and 3 years later became the first in his family to earn a college degree. Analyzing the quote and Ethan's lesson. We are not what happened to us. We are what we choose to become. This quote by Carl Jung, a renowned Swiss psychoanalyst, is a declaration of liberation. We are not what happened to us. None of us are only victims of our circumstances. Even if we've endured pain, trauma, or failure, these things don't define who we are. We are what we choose to become. It is our actions, choices, and attitude in the present that shape us. This isn't easy, but it gives the power back to each individual. This quote offers a way out for young people who feel trapped. It doesn't deny the past, but it opens the door to the future. Applying it to modern education and society. In American education today, students face academic pressure, bullying and school violence, economic inequality, identity and cultural crises, which is why helping students understand that they can choose who they become is a vital mission. Educators, parents, and counselors must turn this quote into a guiding principle, not just with words, but through action. Communicate with students through respect and positive expectations. Create safe spaces for self-expression and discovery. Teach emotional resilience and self-reflection skills, because every child, no matter how wounded, deserves a second chance. Closing. Ethan is not the exception. Today, Ethan, now 25, is a software engineer at a tech company in Denver. He still keeps the paper with Carl Jung's quote, yellowed with time, but carefully tucked in his wallet. He sometimes visits his old high school, speaking to students in the same counseling program, with a calm, sincere voice. I'm no longer the kid who was left behind. I'm the one who chose not to leave myself behind. And maybe that's exactly what today's youth need to hear.